survive. Capitalism is choking, stifling this country. Come, let us raise up and try again. This land is enough for all to share, and there is no reason why any man to live in despair. Each and every, all achieving. Why don't we practice what we are preaching? We cannot not at all continue, no. Envious, greedy, conniving, blood-sucking attitude. As them before, no more, I say no more. If prosperity is to come to the shore, I say we must share, brother, share, while we are here. Otherwise we may find that we are no more. Confusion overlays the land. Hopelessly we stand before exploitation. All them Syrian and them foreign banks, they are sucking the very lifeblood from this island. All like Jew and rice will encourage much more inflation. They want too much profit from the pocket of the poor man. The prices are rising though, our salaries still are low, and they don't give a damn if this country come or go. Where is my government? Where is my government? I sweating, I catching hell. They're doing well, although this land is enough for all to share, and there is no reason why any man to live in despair. Each and every, all achieving. Why don't we practice what we're preaching? We cannot not at all continue, no. This envious, greedy, conniving, blood-sucking attitude. Past them before, no more, I say no more. If prosperity is to come to the shore, I say we must share, brother, share, while we are here. Otherwise we may find that we are no more.
Still alive, still alive.
The insincerity, yes, the hypocrisy of this voracious system is butchering you and me. Well, they don't give a damn about the common man. They only dig in their greedy paws into this nation. Tourism, they say, is our main industry, but who own and control all them hotels here in this country? The English, Canadians, Americans, and I hear now them Germans channeling most of the money out of this island. It will never circulate unless we make them give when they take. They should learn to share the cake. All must partake. I say this land is enough for all to share, and there is no reason why any man should live in despair. Each and every, all achieving. We cannot not at all continue, no. This envious, greedy, conniving, blood-sucking attitude. Past them before, no more, I say no more. If prosperity is to come to the shore, I say we must share, brother, share, while we are here. Otherwise we may find that we are no more. My brethren, would you make a choice? I want to hear you like the mighty thunder song, your voice. Would you live in love and share with your fellow man? Or would you rather live like a savage beast and destroy this land? Who don't want to work and share the fruits of this country? We don't want them here, they can leave immediately. There's no time to fool around. We must cultivate the ground. Don't wait on the government. This land is our daily bread. Destruction is setting in. Destitution brings ruin. World pressures are dragging us down. We have no time to clown. I say this land is enough for all to share, and there is no reason why any man should live in despair. Each and every, not at all. Continue, no. This envious, greedy, conniving, blood-sucking attitude has them before. No more, I say no more. If prosperity is to come to the shore, I say we must share, brother, share, while we are here. Otherwise we may find that we are no more.
Get alive, get alive.
Blood. Today.
Nice. Brother Emmanuel there, the man King Short Shirt. I'm DJ Morrishaw. I'm coming to you live and direct here from the Boogie Down Bronx. Weather outside is sunny, nice out there. Hope you folks in the Caribbean are doing fine. You folks in the Florida area, hope you guys are doing fine. We're going to definitely be sharing some information this evening. And you know what? This week, today I must say, this evening, I'm going to take it back to some reflection. You know, and we are coming to you a bit earlier than usual. We are coming to you this early because, as you know, CPL is on, CPL is in the air. The CPL cricket starts at 7. So, you know, come 7 o'clock, DJ Morrishaw is out of here. Have to go and look at that cricket, you know, enjoy myself and give folks a chance to go and take a look at it as well. But there's a lot happening in the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis, more so over there in Nevis. You know, we got those fake pages and those fake news folks spreading there in the Federation at this time. Those folks that was in there for some 7 years creating havoc on the people of the Federation, they are now out there and spreading all kind of lime and orange and tangerine. Well, you all know to deal with these information when you get them. You just put them aside, let them stress themselves out. You know, the Labour Party is in under the leadership of the Honorable Dr. Terence Joe, Prime Minister, and he's doing a good job so far. As I've said time and time again, I would have done some stuff differently. I might not have appointed some people that has been appointed, but he was elected to do a job, and we have to give the Prime Minister and his cabinet the opportunity. They have been there now for just over 12 months, and a lot of improvement has been done, and those folks continue their fake news. But we're going to drop some things from the past. You know, we're going to remind some of these folks that are out there now chatting the nonsense. You know, the former Hag, the former Deputy Premier, and the former ambassador here to the United Nations for St. Kitts Nevis. They was creating havoc on the people, spending unnecessary money. Monies, they wanted the best of everything, but it looked like now they want our good up Prime Minister to sleep on a boat. And they want him to go down and Newtown Bay Road, go clean fish and cook on a 3 stones. They don't want him to be comfortable. They don't want him to have a property meal. They don't want him to be healthy. That is what the patch-up fella is saying. And people out there who, for whatever reason, think that the farmer has did such a good job. Well, tonight we're going to drop some clips, you know. We're going to remind you because Sam Kanda, we spoke about him last week, you know. And I get a lot of phone calls from folks about, Morrishaw, you're hitting your partner hard, even though you're telling the truth, whatever. I hope he ain't upset with you. And like I told them, Sam is a seasoned campaigner. Sam knows the politics. Sam know he been bouncing around, and Sam know wrong and right. So all Sam have to do, if he's getting a piece of the sugar cake right now, he enjoy some of the gravy, enjoy it. But don't come out to try to make people think that you're innocent of what went on during the Team Unity administration. That's all I want Sam to understand. Do not come with it. Do not come on Freedom or any other medium to talk about them and not we. Because if it was not for Sam Kanda and Dwyer Astafan and their gangs, there would not be no PLP. There would not be no Team Unity administration. So that's all I'm asking Sam to do. Stay away from that conversation. If you're benefiting something from this government or you're helping out this government, do your thing. But don't come with them kind of conversation because you're going to get a response from people like DJ Morrishaw. During the Get Rid of Them campaign, you was on this program on numerous occasions, and I said to you, Brother Sam, whatever you got to say, this is the time to say it, you know. Because once the election is over, I don't want to hear the nonsense. And you say your little things during that time, and you leave it alone. So when you're going to come now and talk about them and we, you know, it's not them. You was a part of the administration. You helped create the administration. You was here in New York as the ambassador. I had several conversations with you. And you was quiet as a church mouse. You supported the peace program. Now you're talking about you can't pay people for their bad habits. But you entertain it. So I do not want to hear it, sir. Right? Let's the way I look at it, you know the conversation we've had over the years. So when you're going to be saying these things, you're disrespecting me as a friend. I believed in you. I still believe in you. I still respect you and I still support you. But don't try to take yourself out of this one because you're part of the problem. Baby Brantley was a part of the problem. Ian Patty's Library is part of the problem. The farmer Hack Timothy Harris is a part of the problem. My boy Dwyer, he acknowledged his role in this, and they're putting out his commentary. And whenever Dwyer tried to pull himself out, I'll punch him as well. You know, and I got a cousin there, Dr. Martin. I know he's not part of the Morrishaw genes, and he's not part of the Benny genes, and he's not part of the Hutchison genes, because he spin too much. He tap around too much like a tap. He's one of them tap with the nail in it that bend. He dance around too much. Simple questions he can't answer straight, and I'm losing my patience with him. He need to answer questions directly and stop playing around. We are grown man. This is serious times. Serious times. Juni asked him a question a couple of weeks ago about the hospital wing in Nevis, and he's acting like he don't live in St. Kitts. He never been to Nevis. And he know well what Juni is asking him. I am tired of these games by these folks, grown men and women in the Federation. Call a spade a spade. You know, don't just go out there spreading false rumors just because it's for a buck off one opportunity. No, call a spade a spade. So we're going to start off this afternoon, right on time at 5 p.m. with my brother there, Brother J.A. Dwyer Astafan commentary for today. And we're going to get straight into the clips. We're going to stay rolling. And I just want to say happy birthday to the Honorable G.A. there. AG, sorry, the Honorable AG there, Brother Garth Wilkin, happy birthday to you, sir. I hope you're enjoying yourself, and I hope that everything is good and the family and the home front. So with that, I just want to say to the people, we're going to be flying down the road tonight with clips after clips, receipts after receipts. We're going to blast from the past. And feel free, you online viewers, feel free to send me a message if you feel like there's something I miss or I need to be corrected on. That is what this program is all about. You know, it's a program that you can play your part. You don't have to take everything that DJ Morrishaw said. You know, just do your thing. So, G.A. Dwyer Astafan, coming at you.
Greetings. Someone sent me the list of the 25 top performing students in Guyana in the recently released Caribbean Examinations Council exams, and I was shocked. The student who placed 25th got 12 grade 1s, 6 grade 2s, and 3 grade 3s for a total of 21 subjects sat. 21. The student who placed first got 23 grade 1s and 4 grade 2s for a total of 27 subjects completed. The top performer was asked why he had done 27 subjects, and his answer was that the high number of subjects gave him options. As far as I'm aware, 5 subjects can get you into university. I can even understand 6 or 7 or 8. But when we start to get into 15 and 20 and 25 and 27, I believe we are reaching into the realm of insanity and time wasting. What options does a teenager have when he or she is bogged down during class, and then after class during the week, and then on weekends, tackling 15 and 20 and more subjects? The young man is very wrong, in my opinion. The options that should be open for our children cannot be restricted to academic choices or to what job or profession our children choose. The options must be open so that the children can learn how to live, not just how to make a living. And in this vein, a person who is way smarter than I am once said that education has two main purposes. One purpose is to prepare us for living, and the other purpose is to prepare us to make a living. What preparation for living can there be for a child whose head is in books all of these hours, during the day, during the evening, weekdays, and weekends alike, with little or no time for mental relaxation, physical and social and other extracurricular activities, little chance to develop soft skills, little chance to be molded into complete persons and human beings? Are those persons who encourage the students to do all of these subjects aware of the damage that they may be causing, not just to children, but to our society and our economy? With all of these 10 and 15 and 20 and 27 subjects, might there be an ulterior motive to encourage extra lessons for some persons so that somebody can make an extra dollar? If this is the case, then it is good cause and time to review teachers' salaries and teachers' benefit packages, and also to review standards and qualifications in the profession. 7 hours a day, maybe 2 hours a night, maybe 3 hours a night for the fifth formers certainly is enough. But they need time to learn how to live, not just to beat books. Another question: how solid in content are these subjects for a student to be able to do 20 or more of them? Is this a case of a quest for quantity while sacrificing quality? Is this more about ego and optics than about substance and human development? Remember, for every one of these multi-subject students, there are a number of others who will have to settle for something less than C6 subject passes. In fact, too many of them. So we have casualties among the overachievers, if you want to call them that, and more casualties among the underachievers. What does that tell you about the path which our country is taking? Is it not better to facilitate the rounded, balanced, maturing process and development of our children, rather than to put all of those subjects on their backs? And if the content of these subjects is as such that children can do them in second form, then you have to ask the question whether they are genuinely fifth form subjects. We can't hasten the emotional and social maturation process of our children. We can't sacrifice that on the altar of 20 passes. What about the arts, survival skills, chess, bridge, martial arts, music, character development, cadets? What about our children understanding their history and culture and understanding the dynamics of local, regional, and global affairs? What about civics? What are you telling me? 20 and 25 subjects. Nonsense. Are we producing a cadre of bookworms, repeaters of learned information, but maybe not sufficiently trained as critical thinkers? Are we producing children among the overachievers, if we want to call them that, who have a difficulty adapting to the realities of life outside of the school exam room, while the rest, which are the vast majority, have a difficulty adapting, period? A nation short of critical thinkers is a nation that is doomed, and an education that does not promote primarily critical thinking and overall rounded personal and social development of the individuals is doomed. Of course, I could be wrong, but if I'm wrong, show me that I'm wrong. However, if I am correct, then this situation is catastrophic and needs to be adjusted without delay. Let's presume that all I've said is nonsense. Let's presume that with these 10 subject and 15 and 20 and 25 subject passers, we would have a successful economy, a successful society, a successful political system. Let us presume they're a success story for us. I will immediately destroy that presumption by saying, look at the results, look at the society, look at the economy. Remember, education is purposed to prepare us for living and to make a living. How many maladapted persons are we seeing? How many underachievers are we seeing? So with all of these geniuses that our system is producing, why is there not a higher standard of living and a better quality of life in our country and in CARICOM? Why are the standards so low? Are those who do better when they go away to study, do they remain? Is our investment in them providing proper returns? If not, then the education system is not working. Let me repeat, there are those who are underperformers, and it doesn't mean that they are dumb. It may well mean that the system is not identifying their skills and putting a rounded development process in place so that all of us can be the best individuals that we are capable of being, thanks to good home raising, good community raising and support, and an excellent education system, which, respectfully I will say again, we do not have. Successive administrations in CARICOM have either had little interest in ensuring a true education or little understanding as to how to put a good system in place. And when a bad system is in place, you have rulers and enslavers, not leaders and shepherds. Our progress as a nation can be no swifter than our progress in education. And the deficiency in progress in the Caribbean, and I'm speaking particularly of our beloved country, must be a reflection of the deficiency in the education system. So it is my firm opinion and respectful that this system, about which so many of us like to boast, is failing in its fundamental mission to prepare our people and our nations for better lives and better livelihoods. And allow me to be further honest. If we were successful, the public purse would not have to spend $250 million a year in SEND kits and NEBIS with social and economic support. We wouldn't have people on STEP for 10 and 15 years. STEP, which is a subsidized job program in which the public purse provides free labor for businesses. Businesses, some of which take advantage of the fact that they are allowed to get free labor, and so they make increased profits. Things like that don't happen in countries where the education system is successful, because people are more independent and governments are more alert and more proactive. You don't find the problems that we have in a country where the education system is successful. This entitlement, the sense of dependency, less thoughtfulness, less civic mindedness, less social and economic productivity, less maturity and responsibility, more foolishness, more recklessness. You want to see foolishness? Go on the road. See how people drive as if they don't care about themselves and others, and the problems and the cost, financial and otherwise, that they cause or expose all of us to risk. Listen to the deafening noises which they call music coming from cars and other vehicles. You don't find that in countries that have a good education system, and in countries in which the police and other agencies do what they have to do to maintain order. We are headed in the wrong direction. Decency, morals, morality, dignity, values have all fallen. There's hardly any respect. You've heard me say these things before. We are headed in the wrong direction. And this education system that we have is a major cause of the problems. Parents are a major cause as well. And the institutions of the country, public and private, are to blame. We are all to blame, as I've said before. But if we do not change this education system, the future will be very, very bleak. And we need to encourage our CARICOM friends to do the same thing. If they refuse, let us break away from that system and establish a system that is successful. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are countries that have good systems that redound to the benefit and the sustained prosperity, economic and social, of the people. And so I'm encouraging us today stop this focus on 10 and 15 and 20 and 25 CXC passes. And let us change the focus to preparing our children for happy and successful living and for successful ways to make a living. Thank you.
Well, Brother Dwyer, from my perspective, I'm going to wait until the jury come back. And that topic, I hear you loud and clear. And I too has first-hand information where one of the cricketers that I sponsor there in the village of St. Paul's, his mom sent me some updates. He's currently in Trinidad as a part of the under 17 cricket players that was selected to go across to Trinidad. However, he did 10 CXC subjects, and according to the message I received from his mom, so far he received back confirmation that he passed 7 of the 10 subjects, and he's waiting on the responses for the other 3. So it might very well be that we have some geniuses there in our beloved federation. What we do with them is the question to ask. According to his mom, he is going to be going to college, starting college next month, September 4th to be exact, to pursue a degree in accounting. Now, I can't knock these folks who think, well, they have the ability to do 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, or 20 subjects, because I live it every day. I see this little baby girl, only 5 years old, and the conversation that this child is having with me is better than some adults, even some of them who was in parliament. Her conversation is better than them. Her conversation is better than baby Brantley when I'm speaking with her. She's asking the right question and she's challenging me. When I question baby Brantley, he cussed me. He cussed the whole of Nevis. They're not got no sense. When you question Patches, 90%, 98% of the people in the federation, if you give them a test, they don't have no common sense. So maybe the young people of today are so far ahead of us that we're not hearing them. Whatever they're saying is bypassing us. So we really need to rethink, Brother Dwyer, and see really if the problem is the education system or the crooks that we have in place today that are not utilizing these new ideas as they should. So the jury is out on that one. But before I go into the next topic, which would be the Premier's monthly press conference that took place yesterday, I have some conversation with that as well. Well, let me say good evening to some folks. Guys like the dancing commissioner, as I said last week, the dancing commissioner, Brother Austin Williams, he's visiting, he's hanging here in the New York area with DJ Morrishaw. Welcome to the Bronx, welcome to the Gaza, it's good having you. And I hope that you are enjoying yourself. And I hope that by the time you're ready to head back to the Federation, you are in good health. And you know, I saw some stuff on social media this week. And one of the things I'm seeing is the attack on the new police commissioner, Brother Sutton. And I see Austin Williams, as a former commissioner, responded to one of the comments and said that from where he's sitting, he's seen improvement, and whoever sitting in the high command and trying to undermine the high command need to really either stop or get out. And I agree with him, you know. I agree with him. I reached out to him to make sure it was not a fake comment, that it was not someone operating his page, and he confirmed that it was coming from him. And it is amazing that during the period of 2020, during the height of our COVID, with the lockdown and everything that was taking place in the Federation, many of those individuals who was in the high command, who did not know how to say no to the former administration or to the former prime minister, what you're doing is wrong to the people and whatever, they basically allow them to take advantage of our people. And while the sitting government at the time, the Team Unity concussion with PLP led by Timothy Harris, PAM, led by Sean Richards, CCM, led by Mark Brantley, when they sat back, those individuals, and watch the people suffer. Many of these individuals in the high command were just there doing their thing and playing point guard. You know? I understand some of them even had their own security company. They were benefiting from everything while they're in the high command. They was able to put people to work, whether at the cricket stadium, whether at the carnival stadium, whether at quarantine. There was people in the high command who started security companies and was benefiting. They didn't care about the people. 3 people got arrested for carrying a placard. Folks got tear gas. And I'm going to continue to say it until the problem is resolved. Whether you guys who on the opposition bench don't want to hear it or not, it is a fact. Like I told me boy Moila Box a couple of days ago. The truth is an offense, but not a sin. Some of them come now and they want to say the things and act like these things did not happen. But they did happen. I will continue to play these clips to remind you all that these things did happen. Our only living national hero came on social media and said, even though Timothy was no good for St. Kitts Nevis, he supported him to get rid of Douglas. He put 50,000+ and the entire nation at risk to get rid of one man. Douglas said he's 10 men in one. Whether he's 10 or 12 men in one. One individual that threw the whole country at bay. And this is why I am saying to my brother Sam Kanda, the time to campaign is over, right? If you're going to come on social media or come on radio, let's talk the things then. Let's talk the good that is taking place in St. Kitts at the moment. Let's talk the things that might need improvement. Let's talk the things that you want to see change, or the government or the cabinet can do differently. Let's talk the things that are taking place in Nevis. If you guys want to be good citizens, these are the things you want to talk about. There's enough to talk about. This land is our land. St. Kitts Nevis is our land. There's enough for us to talk about than to be chatting bullshit about them when you was a part of them. So, Brother Sebastian Williams, good evening, sir. How are you doing? Good evening there, my mascot, Dorothy Allen. How are you doing? Loretta Wharton, how are you doing? Brother Elvin Ellie, I hope the hurricane did not damage your folks on that end. How is the wife? Hope all is well with you. Sister Patrona Ballot, Loretta Clark Queely, how are you doing? The Quintus Dwyer, are you on a door? Jetty Taylor, Delicious Nicholas Bourne, how are you doing? Brother Desmond Tyson, hope all is well with you guys. Simona Cinder, Cornelius, Brother Ivor Henry, how are you doing, my brother? Hope you're enjoying the cricket. I see the Patriots getting the backside washing. I don't know what's going on with them, but they better get their act together sooner than later, you know, because what we are seeing so far is really unacceptable. If you're representing our beloved federation, you have to do better than that, you know. I want to big up my girl, your sister, Avenis Jeffers. How you doing? Okay. Gigi Williams, how you doing? Skeet, everything, all is well? Olivia David, how you doing? Hope all is well with you. Sister Beverly Mawisha, good evening. Hope all is well. Sister Gwyneth Mawisha, Rutherland Hill, Rutherland Brown, how you guys doing? I want to big up Tamika Salid, how you doing? Ingrid Daniel, how you doing? Good evening. How about the man there, brother? The Big Lice, Duncan Watley, I understand he said he'll be coming live tomorrow evening. That's Thursday evening, 31st. Coming with some state of affairs. So check out the man Big Lice tomorrow evening. Also, don't forget to check those guys out and tell me. The man Carlisle Powell, the man Tulu, and brother Kelvin Daly. Also want to say good evening to Sister Lioness Charles. How are you doing? Hope all is well. Sister Rosita Pontine, how are you doing? Naomi Ward, Sister Hazel Claxton. Thanks for your continued support. Hope all is well with you. Min Evelyn, good evening. Tanya Powell, Lydia Paris, are you on the door? Hope all is well with you guys. My Kude in the UK, Sister Evan Jeffords, Sister Millie. About Sandra, hope all is well with you. Patrick Brown, good evening. My uncle there, Brother Joseph Emmanuel, there at the Garvey's Estate, the Millhouse Gas House. Kelvin Wilkin, Alvin Brown, hope all is well with you, my brother. The man Ike, the man Curtis Crook, Brother Monarch. Also want to big up Alvy Davis. Well, you know, we're going to jump straight into Baby Brantley's report and the NIA debt. Someone brought that to my attention, and I hope I get a chance to get a response from Brother Parry on this one, because it seems as though Baby Brantley wake up after, you know something, I almost missed this one. A couple days ago, my phone went off. Just like you have things go viral on social media, my phone went viral with pictures from my boy, the Brother Alvin Brown, with him and Baby Brantley hugging up and grinning down the place. You know, I keep talking to you folks. Ignore the pictures. The pictures say 1,000 words, yes. But number one, Alvin Brown deserves everything he gets. Because whenever the PM take a picture with Baby Brantley, Sister Cleo or anybody else, he got his 2 cents to put in. So if you're going to take a picture with Baby Brantley, he deserves the beating, just the same. But we got to understand, a picture is all that it is a picture, right? Now, I want to believe from my conversations I've had with Alvin Brown and his experience with Baby Brantley and his experience on a whole, especially since he had the fire at his facility there, rumors and Nevis. All during the COVID, he was very helpful to a lot of people, and he have not gotten the support from Baby Brantley or the NIA. I would want to believe and hope that what the picture might appears to be is more than that. I would hope that Alvin took the opportunity to let Baby Brantley know how he feels, and took the time out to let Baby Brantley know that he's the Premier of Nevis, you know. People have a right to question you about things that you're doing, because this is taxpayers' money. So when you're going to come on social media cussing people because they want clarity and things, I hope Alvin Brown had the opportunity before they had a little laugh. And I hope he took the time out to request a meeting to go and deal with his matter. Because Baby Brantley, I will hug, you know. Baby Brantley, I can shake hand, you know. But I guarantee you, I will let him know before the picture is taken, we got to go live. Because the people have a few questions for you. I have a few questions for you. So I am kind of shocked that Alvin did not grab his phone and, you know, let the people understand what the conversation was about. Anyway, I just want Univisions to understand that the debt for Nevis is the taxpayers paying it, you know. The debt for Nevis is not for Brantley and Associates. It's not for Baby Brantley and his family. So when you all sit back and laugh and think everything is okay, and say, leave Mark alone, let him do what he got to do, let him mash up the place. Is you guys' future and the unborn Nivision's future you all mashing up, you know. You all are mashing up the Jamaican future. I do not know where my end might be, but I don't think anything Baby Brantley can do can change my life. But it's you folks and Nevis. You all need to get up, stand up, and make the change. Now I want you guys to hear some numbers that you guys are responsible for. To date, take a listen to Baby Brantley.
Our debt is sort of 3 categories. We have our foreign debt that is owed to foreign banks and other entities. We have our domestic debt that is owed locally. And then because of new accounting, we also need to include, when we look at the NIA debt, the debt of statutory corporations. So the debt of NEVLEC, Housing and Land, Tourism Authority, NASPA, etc. So let me get to the figures now. Our debt as of July 2023, our total foreign debt stood at $30.8 million, 30.8. It has decreased from the figure of 33.7 million, which it was at the same time last year. So we have been making some progress on reducing our foreign debt, which has gone from 33.7 million down to 30.8 million. These are EC dollars. We have, in terms of our domestic debt, NIA domestic debt, that number stands at $449.4 million. 449.4, that is the total domestic debt. When that is combined then with the foreign debt, we have a total NIA debt, that is the debt of the central government, at 480.3 million EC dollars. While we have seen a reduction in the foreign debt from $33.7 million at July 2022 to $30.8 million at July 2023, we have seen an increase in the local or domestic debt from $414.3 million as of July last year to $449.4 million as of July this year. And that increase has largely been associated with the road projects that have been ongoing. In terms of government guaranteed debt, that is now for our public corporations, we have debt for the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation, debt for the Nevis Tourism Authority, debt for the Nevis Electricity Company Limited, debt for the Nevis Air and Seaports Authority, and that total public sector debt comes up to $36.7 million. $36.7 million. When then you combine the debt, 36.7 million, of the public corporations with the central government debt of $480.3 million, we have a cumulative total debt position of the island of Nevis at this point, that is central government plus the corporations of $544.7 million EC dollars. By any measure, it is a significant number, and therefore we have to utilize all efforts to seek to reduce that number and to bring greater debt relief and greater management of that debt so that it does not escalate further. Of note, as I looked at these numbers, is that the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation currently has an external debt of $5.8 million to Unit Trust Corporation, AIC Merchant Bank in Trinidad. That debt, as of July last year, stood at $6.4 million. It has now been reduced, as of July this year, to $5.8 million. The reason that I mention that debt is because that debt ought not to have still been on our books. And I have been bombarded with calls from citizens and residents who purchased land in the Nugent Heights area, and in this area where we are now having this press conference in the Pinnies area, and were sold lands. Some have in fact even built homes and have no title to their land, no title to their property. And the reason for that was that we had borrowed monies from Unit Trust Corporation, AIC Merchant Bank in Trinidad, to purchase Pinnies Estate. And we turned around and sold some 600 acres of the lands that we had purchased with those monies. The previous CCM-led government, led by the Honorable Vance Emery, had deposited with Scotia Bank, as it then was, 10 million US dollars. And the reason behind that was that 10 million US was to act as security for repayment of the Unit Trust Corporation AIC Merchant Bank. Government changed in 2006. And the then new NRP government, led by the Honorable Joseph Parry as Premier, somehow decided to use that 10 million US dollars for other reasons, other purposes, and did not pay the debt in Trinidad. Now, what I find is unfortunate is that while that money was taken out of the bank and used elsewhere, lands were being sold, Trinidad was not being paid. And so the unit trusts in Trinidad took a position that they would not lift their caveat to allow any transfers to anybody until they receive their payment in full. And so we now have a lot of people who are holding land, have paid for land, but have no title and cannot get their title. Some of those people have now been coming back to the government and saying to us, we want back our money. Some have said they want back their money with interest. We have to come up with 5.8 million. We have been paying. This government through Land and Housing has been paying, but we still owe $5.8 million to the Unit Trust Corporation AIC Merchant Bank. So the 10 million US disappeared. The money from the sales disappeared, and we are left with the debt still to pay, and people who can't get their title. This jumped out at me because I wanted to mention it as one of the difficult situations that we've been having to grapple with in terms of debt. So we have now to find this 5.8 million, and I'm appealing to those out there who bought lands in the area to be patient with us. We are trying our very best to liquidate this debt because the entity in Trinidad has said only upon liquidation will we discharge our caveat, and then you can register the various titles for people.
Okay, again, this one, you know, I'm going to leave this one for my brother Joseph Parry to take the time out to come and address Baby Brantley on this one. I cannot touch it. I do not know anything about it. But I am happy that we get some numbers at least, because for some time now, people are asking about the numbers, the depth for Nevis. So here's some numbers. So I leave that one up to Brother Joseph Parry, the man Carlisle Powell, Brother Kelvin Daly, and Tulu. They will come and address that one for me. I'm just playing them tonight for you guys to get an idea what's to come. But there's another clip that I heard that took me back, because I want to know if Baby Brantley really think he's talking to a jackass. Baby Brantley is trying to tell me and tell the world that he as Premier, he as a Premier of Nevis, have seen lawyers taking citizens to court, Social Security taking citizens of Nevis to court for $50. Well, I would like to ask Baby Brantley, how much does this lawyer charge? When they take a citizen to court who owes the Social Security $50, how much do they charge the government for that representation? Take a quick listen.
We want people to be responsible. I've been in the court sometimes and seen Social Security, for example, take people to court, sometimes $50. But I think
now, I don't know if there's any lawyers online, but could somebody give me an idea how much does a lawyer charge an hour for representation in our beloved federation? Because I find it very hard to believe that Social Security would be that crazy to take to take a citizen to court for $50. But by the time they finish, they don't get nothing out of that money. They cannot get nothing out of that money. So I really want to hear the cost for a lawyer there in our bill of federation. Is it 10% or 20% of the $50 the lawyer get paid? I really would love to understand that. Now, take a listen to this other clip. No, that's that one, not that clip, not that clip. That is the wrong clip. That's the wrong clip. I want you to give me the correct clip there. So again, if there's any lawyers online, please let me know what's the cost for a lawyer for any kind of representation there in our bill of federation. Now, I love this question here from this journalist. I think it's from Van Radio. The update on geothermal. This one had me rolling like the Rolling Stones.
Daniela Thompson, Von Radio. Good morning, Premier Brantley.
Good morning.
I have a total of 3 questions. In relation to the geothermal project, we know that last December after the elections, it was stated that drilling would have started in June. Also, the bidding date was extended back in April. So can an update be provided? What is the status of the Alexandra Hospital Wing expansion project? And the Ministry of Education implemented a new system in the secondary school level where students were placed in classes without separating them by streams. That was the A1s, the A2s, and so forth. How has the progress been with that new system so far? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Thompson, for your questions as always. You're right that we've had some slippage in relation to our dates on geothermal. As you know, we were quite excited that we had made good progress. The Caribbean Development Bank had approved some $18 million when they met in their final meeting last year, December 9th, I think it was, of 2022. And we had anticipated we'd be moving quite quickly. The dates that I gave were the dates that I had been given, that we anticipated that drilling contracts would have been awarded by June. We had some slippage because when the bidding process did not go as well as we would have liked, we had considerable interest being shown, but then it appears that there were some technical issues of the form of contract. I heard terms like FIDIC contract being used and some drillers saying that that may not be the appropriate form. And so we have been having a back and forth, the experts and the consultants at the CDB level, those here at NEVLEC, which is a lead agency for us, have been going back and forth. Suffice it to say that the last update that I had was that they have now decided to go back to some of the bidders, but not a general open bidding as they did before, but certain individual firms who have the capacity have been approached. And so I'm told that we should have expected some results from that process by the end of this month, August. I'm to check to see whether or not that has in fact materialized, but that is what I was told. If that is the case, then unfortunately we would have lost a few months, but we still anticipate that we will have contracts and a drill in place by the end of this year. The problem with these projects, Ms. Thompson and the public, is that they don't often go as fast as we would like them to go because so many various entities are involved. So for example, because we're getting funding through the CDB, and the CDB is using funds that have been placed with the CDB from IDB and other institutions, the problem that creates for us is that each of those institutions has their own rules in terms of what needs to be done before the funds can be dispersed. As government sometimes, for example, we can say, we need this road built, and because of the urgency or the speed, we select a contractor. Go ahead and build the road. These agencies can't do that. So they have to go through a bidding process. It has to be open. It has to be left open for a particular period of time. Questions have to be answered, etc. Bids have to be evaluated. And then if none of the bidders are acceptable, you have to then go back through another process. Right? So that is the way it is, and for me, it's a torturous process. But I'm content that we are working on it, and we expect that we'll get there. In terms of the hospital project, I had hoped today that I would have had an update, but I do not. And the reason I do not is because we are still waiting on some quantity surveys that are to be done. We had hired and paid for those to be done by a professional on St. Kitts. Suffice it to say that that professional has taken the money but not delivered. And so we have been forced midstream to change course. I'm told now that we have outsourced that activity to an entity in the US, and I hope that I should be able to come back to you in short order with an update on that. And if not myself, then the Minister of Health should be able to come with an update. If that update...
You know, baby Brantley, you're the best. You are the best, because there's a true saying, a liar don't have any memory, and you sure don't have any memory. It's not too long ago you tell us that the bid was out and you had so much people, so much company interested. So much people came and bid on this project. You came back later. You said, oh, some of them could not do the complete job. It was out in bits and pieces. So you only identify a few that can do the whole job. Now you come back chatting this nonsense, baby man. I mean, from where DJ Morrishaw is sitting, ain't much DJ Morrishaw can do on his own, you know. It's the people of Nevis have to deal with you. These lies are just too much now. They are just too much. You know, when will the people of Nevis wake up and say enough is enough? You know, when will the people of Nevis stand up and say enough is enough? You got to go. They don't have to wait until the next election to make a decision. They have enough information. They have enough information. If the ombudsman ain't doing the job, do it yourself. I tell you all already what to do. Full up the boats and go down to Church Street. Pay a visit to Dr. Joe and the Honorable AG and the rest of the cabinets. Let them know you're all serious. They are the federal cabinet. They are the federal government. We're talking about federal funds. The Prime Minister, according to Baby Brantley, is leading the charge on geothermal. So we need to hear what is really going on here. This flip-flop not going to work. I am waiting on the leader of the NRP, the Honorable Janice Daniel Hodge, to deal with this one. Again, I'm going to leave the work up to you folks in Nevis. I'm going to identify them and let you all deal with them. You all need to get up, stand up for yourself. I'll fight with you, not for you. These are issues that you all need to stand up for. You all need to get up and deal with these issues. That topic, the geothermal nonsense that Baby Brantley talking about, you all need to stand up and talk about it. Now, there's another thing he discussed at the press conference, and this one again had me rolling. He said, all the firms and Nevis has been audited. I want to know if they have been audited to see which one of them are contracted and retainer by the Nevis Island Assembly or the NIA or the Nevis people. That's the audit that we need. Take a listen.
I can confirm to the public that all the law firms in Nevis right now are being audited. All. That we have raised some concerns with the law firms. We have raised some concerns with realtors and others. And the Inland Revenue is now taking a position that they are auditing these various entities to ensure that they are paying what is due from them. I would want the public to understand that the audit procedure is one that's available to the tax authorities when they have a concern and they want to be sure that what is being declared and what is being paid is consistent with the facts. And I will tell you that some of the reporting from some of the business entities just on its face, would make you wonder. Because they're business entities that are employing people, that are paying rent in Charleston and all of that, and are reporting, for example, that they only make $15,000 and $20,000 for the month. When you know, based on their rent and their staff and the payment for themselves, that could not possibly be the case. If that were...
I look forward to hear the end result of this auditing of all law firms, because that law firm, Brantley, Daniel and Associates, or whatever it is, Daniel Brantley and Associates, whatever it is, according to Brother Cozier, they're in some hot water there. They're in some serious hot water there. So I look forward to see that audit. But, you know, over the weekend, listening to the patch up fella there, Brother Ian Patches and him chatting their nonsense and all over social media, trying to mess with Dr. Joe and the Labour Party and the works that they're doing. I went back into my archives, you know, and I went back to the campaign of 2022. And I wonder if you guys remember this one. Just like Baby Brantley brought back Batcher from the grave during the campaign, he just went and bring back a topic about Parry. How long Parry was Premier of Navies? First time I'm hearing this thing about Parry. How long ago since Parry was the Premier of Navies? Baby Brantley is now telling us. How long is it since him in office? 13 years? Some 13, 14 years? How long has Baby Brantley been Premier? Why are we just hearing this now? But we know the fellow.
Now, and so the caller makes a good point, that it's as if you're asking somebody for the evidence when you know that that evidence doesn't exist, because it couldn't exist. There was no mechanism to have that evidence from that period. What I marvel at, though, is that while some say the comment was never made, we are aware that in Nevis, ever since we were babies sitting on our mother's knees, that we were told that Bratcher made that comment. We go to Anguilla, and the people in Anguilla equally are convinced that Bratcher made that comment. And so the question has to be asked of how it is that so many generations of us in Nevis and in Anguilla were fooled, if you will, into believing that Bratcher made that comment, when there are those now who are saying the comment was never made. I listened to a radio program recently, and one of the commentators said, "That is false, that comment was never made." And I smiled to myself, because how would he know? He's saying it is false because it's convenient for him to say that it is false. And it is easy for you to say to people, prove it. How do we prove some of the things that we believe? Let's face it. Where does it come from? And the truth is that we have had a culture and a history of passing down information from generation to generation. And if you take a generation 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years on, and you say to them, prove that this was said in 1965 at a political meeting, it is impossible to do so, unless you can find people who are physically there who can say that this is what happened. So really it's a debate, in my view, which is ultimately meaningless. The people of Nevis believe that the comment was made. There are those who support Mr. Bratcher, who said he never made the comment, and I think that's as much as we can say on the matter. People comment.
Now, the situation is, right? The situation is that Baby Brantley is trying to convince the people of Nevis during the campaign that Bratcher said he's going to give them bone in the rice and pepper in the soup, or vice versa. And he believed that. It's very clear. Based on his comments, he believed that. But my question is, if Bratcher said he's going to give the Nevis people bone in the rice and pepper in the soup, that was just a statement during, according to Baby Brantley, during a campaign. But what has Baby Brantley given to you, the people of Nevis, in real life, in reality? What he has done to the citizens of Nevis in real life. Let's question the people of Nevis, the people who have felt him firsthand. People like Kelvin Daly, with his farm destroyed, disrupt, taking away his land. How about the man, Mr. Paris, Dwelling Paris, who had his building materials sit down for years, still, what they call it, wood lice or whatever, eat it up. And we could go on and on and on and on. These Bamonko taxes, these projects that cannot be completed. When he was crying for fair share. Crying for fair share. And when he was saying he getting the fair share, during his time as part of the team unity concussion, listen to Baby Brantley.
People come and they whisper foolishness in your ear, telling that's foolishness because St. Kitts and Nevis is enjoying an unprecedented time of prosperity. Unprecedented time of prosperity. The relationship, and let me just take 2 minutes, Brother Lindsay, just to say that the relationship between St. Kitts and Nevis has never been better. It is the best. It is the best that we have seen. The best that we have seen. It is because of the closeness of that relationship that I could stand here tonight in Molyneux and speak to you. Speak to you as a national of this country, as part of the Team Unity administration. And if Vance Amory was here, he would have done similarly, because we are now bound together in a very tangible and important way as we advance the interests of the country. Now in Nevis, for the first time, people are not seeing those age-old distinctions that we used to have. If you want a job and a job is at Park Hyatt, people go on Park Hyatt to work. Wherever work is in the country, people are saying, I am a national of this country and I'm taking advantage of that. People of St. Kitts are taking advantage of opportunities in Nevis and vice versa. You know why? Ultimately, we are 2 islands, 1 paradise. 2 islands, but 1 country. And we need to continue to ensure that all of our people benefit from all that we have to offer as a country. I thank the Honorable Prime Minister. I thank Team Unity and the vision that went into this. I have said so many times, right in St. Kitts, that we come from disparate places and disparate backgrounds. When I was in opposition, other man used to talk as hard to me as Timothy Harris when he talking from over there. Talk hard, I used to afraid him because you know he's big. So to come from there to where we are now says to you that we were able to put away those things and come together. Put away those things and come together for the benefit of the people of Nevis. Thank you.
Now you see, that is Baby Brantley. And I hope Dr. Joe taking notes, you know, because this is the beast. This is the man. And like I said, we're still blasting from the past this evening, you know. We're still blasting from the past because some of them, they got amnesia. With everything that they was doing wrong, they got amnesia. Now let's go to our only living national hero. You heard Baby Brantley just said that the best government ever, the best prime minister ever was the former hog, Timothy Harris. Well, a few months later, after they don't hug up anymore, after the salt rub off their skin, and the skin start getting scaly and dry, listen to our only living national hero, the first Prime Minister of the Federation. Listen to Sir Kennedy Anfal Simmons giving you his version of what Baby Brantley just gave you.
When I decided to support the efforts of the Team Unity Alliance, I did so in order to get rid of Denzil Douglas. We succeeded. I took that decision also because of the opportunity to change the political culture of St. Kitts and Nevis and to end the political polarization which has plagued us. That is still my mission. Actually, PAM and PLP people were getting along pretty well. The problem was, and still is, Timothy Harris. The other reasons I supported the alliance in 2015 were that I wanted our government to develop the country for the benefit of all our people in a fair and just manner. And finally, I wanted us as a country to return integrity and accountability to our government. But Timothy Harris destroyed all those plans. The coalition was dissolved because of two reasons, and Timothy Harris is to blame for both. The reasons were greed, greed to become wealthy. The second was his continued system of undermining all his colleagues. As Minister of Finance, he refused to fund many projects and programs, even though they were approved by Cabinet. This caused supporters to feel that it was the PAM ministers who were not acting. But although the PAM ministers were fighting for their people, the Minister of Finance kept refusing or delaying to support their projects. As Sean Richards once said, he, Timothy, would look them in the eye and say yes, and next day begin the process of undermining them. Not just Sean and Pam, not just Mark and CCM, but even the other PLP minister was undermined by her leader. His sole purpose was to make them look bad in the eyes of the public and in the eyes of their party supporters. But behind their backs, he plotted to make himself look like the savior. He wanted everyone to praise him. He did not want his ministers to get any credit. Everything must be about Timothy. They tried quietly for years, trying to hash out their disagreement privately, but without success. The situation got worse, but he continued to ignore them. They tried again late last year and again in January this year, but again, Harris ignored their concerns. They wrote to him for discussions, but he ignored their concerns and refused to negotiate with them. Or he said he couldn't diminish the office of the Prime Minister, failing to recognize that they made him Prime Minister. He proceeded to kick down the ladder by which he had ascended. It was only after all of these efforts failed to resolve the differences that the decision had to be made to dissolve the partnership. The 6 representatives were left with no alternative but to take their case to the people, because it was the people who elected them. Today, I am very proud of Sean Richards and Mark Brantley and the other 4 MPs who took a stand. Eugene Hamilton once told me that he warned Sean that Timothy was undermining him and would throw him under the bus. If Sean had not moved when he did, in 3 years' time, there would have been no PAM. Sean had to move to save the country and to save his party.
So that is our first Prime Minister, our only living national hero, that is telling us that his party politics was more important than the country. All he wanted to do was get rid of Douglas. And a lot of them hated Douglas. Vance Army hated Douglas to the fullest. This I know for a fact because he told me that. I do not know whether it was Douglas Vance hate or Labour, but I know he had no love for Douglas based on our conversations. And as I have always said, the good writer, the legend Bob Marley said, the truth is an offense but not a sin, and these are the facts. That's what you're getting here. Only the facts. So these corrupt politicians, these weevil of individuals that was there for 7 years taking advantage of our beloved Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. They fell on their own sword because, as Timothy said, none of them could hold a candle to he. All of them thief alike. He said, nothing, they're the biggest thief. That's what he said. And I got me receipts the way he said. He said, all them thief. But when one of them bag was longer than the other, they could not get along. So there was a falling out. The farmer had fired 6 of them at a blow, which was a good thing for the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Now that they're out there, they know everything that they could have done differently. They know everything that should be implemented. So what they're on right now? A crusade of fake news and propaganda to try and diminish the work that Prime Minister Drew and his new Labour administration is doing for the country. But people, time will tell. Time alone will tell that what you have now, what has been done in less than 2 years, the damage that was done in 7 years can't compare. And that's the reality of the day. So let me drop this one from my boy Milo, because remember Milo went and ran for PAM, you know. Him and I have had finished business there too. That's my good friend. But when it comes to politics, I'm going to keep him over by the fridge.
Permit me now to explain why you cannot support Dr. Timothy Harris and his Labour Party. The first reason is his slate of candidates. Have you ever asked yourself which portfolios each of them would serve in if they succeed in stealing the elections? Can you imagine any one of Timothy's candidates being sent abroad to the European Union to deal with such a crucial issue like trying to save our CBI program? Not one of them. As for Timothy, you know he is afraid to go because he would have some serious questions to answer. Think of it. If Timothy Harris is returned to office, you will witness a massive scale of victimization that this country has never seen. Thousands would be fired from their jobs. They would harass you and terrorize you. Corruption in government would increase, and so would nepotism, as friends and family were given priority in this country. Keep in mind, he wants to get back into office to finish the prison and to allow the family to make millions and millions, while you just get a chance to be on pap and step. You must stop them. The fourth and fifth reasons are about Harris's appetite for betrayal. These will shock you, but will help you to decide, to see his trail of deceit. Harris was in the Labour cabinet of Prime Minister Dr. Denzil Douglas for 18 years. Even though his former colleagues knew he could not be trusted, he remained in their fold, and they kept quiet about his ways. I too saw signs that he could not be trusted when he eventually teamed up with PAM and CCM. Everyone that he has had as a partner, even those who formed the PLP with him, eventually fell out with him. And it is always for the same reasons: distrust and betrayal. During the past 7 years of the former Team Unity government, I remained cordial but careful with Harris, because I knew that betrayal and vindictiveness remained a part of his nature. He betrayed CCM, he betrayed PAM, he betrayed the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, And he also had a history of betraying the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. Harris has been betraying PAM and its members of cabinet from the first day they took office in 2015. Much of it we only found out later. But if PAM thinks Harris betrayed them, the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party supporters should also know that he spent many years plotting against them. Here is a piece of history that most of you did not know about, but it is a history that would convince you that no one should and no one could trust the outgoing Prime Minister. What I am about to tell you, I don't think that even Dr. Denzil Douglas knew about it. Most of you would remember the morning after the election of 2010, when Prime Minister Denzil Douglas went to Government House to have his entire cabinet sworn in, as was the custom in those days. When Dr. Douglas looked around for Timothy Harris, Timothy was not there. He was absent because he was working on a plan to give Douglas the shock of his life. Dr. Harris was absent because he was trying to put together a coalition to get rid of Douglas and to make himself Prime Minister. How do I know this? Earlier that morning, I received a call from an intermediary of Timothy Harris. The intermediary was someone that he thought I would listen to. The message was to ask me to talk to Mr. Joseph Parry, who was then the leader of the Nevis Reformation Party, NRP. Harris wanted to ask Joseph Parry to talk to his successful candidate, Mr. Patrice Nisbet, and to ask Mr. Nisbet not to rush into any association with Dr. Denzil Douglas, because he, Timothy, was working on a plan to form a government. The message also suggested that there was a possibility that Pam could be in the government rather than in opposition, if Parry agreed to convince Patrice Nisbet not to work with Douglas. Mr. Parry was not interested, so he rejected the suggestion. It was only then that Timothy Harris eventually returned to the Douglas fold and was sworn in. So that was after the 2010 election. Now let us examine what Harris did 10 years later, following the 2020 elections. After the 2020 polls, Timothy Harris decided that he did not want Juicy Byron again as Attorney General. Yes, Timothy did not want Juicy Byron as Attorney General. He contacted and asked a prominent member of PAM to recommend someone who could replace Byron. Harris said Byron was lazy and incompetent. I was consulted by the member of PAM, but after discussion, we decided not to submit any names. Harris then rushed to get himself sworn in, leaving Juicy dangling in uncertainty. Many of you would recall that unlike previous years, no Attorney General was sworn in 2020 when the Prime Minister took his oath. The reason is what I have just told you. Eventually, because no suggestions were given to Harris to replace Byron, Byron was eventually sworn in. Someone should tell the Attorney General that he was being betrayed by Timothy, because he may not have known. Of course, he continued to smile with you and butter you up, Juicy. But he did not want you. Instead, he made you think it was your PAM colleagues who wanted you out. No, it was not. We kept you on. Two other reasons you cannot support the Harris group relate to his old ways of victimization. When Labour came into power in 1995, Harris became, for the first time, a minister of government in the Denzil Douglas administration. Harris immediately went on a victimization spree. The first man he marked was a farmer named Ben Phipps of Molyneux. His wife was Doreen Phipps, a well-known PAM activist and member. Timothy went on a rampage. Their farm was the family's means of sustenance and livelihood. Like so many other farmers in the area, Ben Phipps paid the prescribed rental for the land regularly and on time. Unceremoniously, Timothy Harris took away the land from Ben Phipps, moved in the bulldozers, and destroyed the crops that were growing and deprived the Phipps family of their livelihood. Ben Phipps pined away, and before the next election in 2000, Ben Phipps was dead. Some say he died of a broken heart. A few years later, his wife Doreen also died. Despite the loss of their parents, the family of Ben and Doreen Phipps still found it in their hearts to forgive Timothy. He went to them on his knees with water in the eye, begging for forgiveness. Like good Christians, they forgave him, because even the dying thief on the cross received forgiveness. And still, Harris continued his ways of betrayal. The next man he marked was Pastor Kelvin Jones of the Mount Carmel Baptist Church at Upper Boreal. Pastor Jones had bought land from the government to build his home. Timothy Harris decided to take back part of Pastor Jones' land. He sent in the bulldozer supported by the army. They were given firm instructions to tolerate no opposition and to shoot if necessary. This is the true nature and the political DNA of Timothy Harris. He would pretend in your presence, but would not hesitate to stab you in the back. So despite the many visits to church every Sunday, his heart is not pure and it is not in the right place. Right now, Timothy Harris and his accomplices are trying to do two things. They are trying to corrupt the electoral process, and they are trying to steal and buy the election. We have no choice. We the people have no choice but to vote for the PAM CCM team under the leadership of the Honorable Sean Richards. For the benefit of future generations, this present danger to our democracy, Timothy Harris, must be removed with the greatest urgency. All hands must be on board. We have a nation to save. Timothy Sylvester Harris is not just bad for PAM. He's not just bad for Labour. He's not just bad for Nevis. Timothy Harris is just plain old bad for this country.
And you know, the thing about it is, listening to Simmons, I appreciate him coming out at this moment. But just like Sam, do they understand what integrity was? Sam said he knew about this from 2008. Simmons said he knew about Timothy from 2010. And they still allowed Timothy to burn down the house. So when you got an arsonist, or several arsonists, because there's several of them of CCM, them of PLP, and them of PAM, they burn down our nation. transactional arrangement, as some will call it. They allow Timothy and his gang to destroy the fabric of our beloved federation. And because they come and throw a butter pan of water to assist, now they want to get a complete cleansing to act like they wasn't part of the problem. We are always part of the problem. A serious part of the problem. This next hack that coming up, Ian Patches Liebert, he was in there too, from Labour to PAM, to PLP, to the Unity, to Ambassador here. And listen to his response to Simmons. All of them is the same nonsense.
I took some time out and I listened to Sir Kennedy. And I concluded that our only living national hero, as I said, is an angry man. And I reflected because he has made many demands on the public purse over the years, and very, unreasonable demands at that. And most of them were denied. The latest demand he made on the public purse, which was denied by Prime Minister Harris and by the entire cabinet, which included his members of PAM. The 4 members of PAM denied his latest demand to be paid, believe it or not. Kennedy Alphonse Simmons demanded that he be paid $15,000 per month, or the equivalent of a high court judge. And that was denied, so Kennedy Alphonse Simmons obviously seemed to be angry. And when I reflect, even during my time in cabinet and the demands that came from Kennedy Simmons, because he's a living national hero, it's nothing more and nothing less than being a greedy vulture. And I say so respectfully. So in a show of desperation, Simmons has begged those who have left the sinking PAM ship, or the sinking ship of PAM, to come back home. They have left, but they are now on the rocks, and they are asking their supporters, old and young, to come back home.
So these people is so out there now, and social media, and all over the place, talking about victimization, and labor this and labor that, and Dr. Joe and Dr. Joe that. Now, this is a performance of Brother Petty, the then PS of National Security for the former Prime Minister. And listen to what Brother Petty's statement was at a recent meeting following the change of government.
Honorable Prime Minister, there is or was no policy about vaccination. The procedure for approvals for promotion is that the final approval comes from the Prime Minister, the Minister of National Security. And it was the decision of the then Prime Minister that persons of promotion should be vaccinated. So there is no written policy. There was no written policy and there is none. It was simply a decision of the Prime Minister of the day. And so I would have passed on that information to the Commissioner of Police, and it's not just for corporals, it was for anybody who was to be promoted and was not vaccinated. He did not get approval. So Prime Minister, there is no policy in place. Just to comment on the traffic warden, as far as I know, the traffic warden is on the government medical insurance, as is the people from Telecom. What I don't know is that she's saying they don't get anything for eyes, so I don't know that. That needs to be checked out. But they will all be on the government medical insurance. Whether there's a restriction on what they get for, then that needs to be looked at.
So that was the then PS at a recent press conference where Prime Minister Drew wanted some clarity on the process for promotion. You hear them now banging them out talking about victimization. That was victimization, because the then Prime Minister will determine who get promotion or not, who work or who stay home, who sleep or who eat, who come home to our beloved Federation or who stay out. Hear it for yourself.
I will continue to protect the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. And that is why we say the borders close. Borders close!
We no got no time for labor. Just come out election day. Make sure you put the X in the right place. Family.
The borders of St. Kitts and Nevis are closed to protect you who are here. And those who are compelled to come for any reason, 14 days. You're not going in nobody's house. You're not going in nobody's car. 14 days you're going to be in lockdown. That is the rule. And at the end of the 14 days, you get a test. And if the test ain't come back good, you're in lockdown again. The border.
So that was the farmer had, Timothy Harris, telling people like myself, the borders closed, we don't want to hire down there. You all are foreigners, but during the time they're bringing in foreigners to vote. They say they don't have time for labor. Let the labor supporters stay out. We're bringing in, what the part-time Navy say? He bringing in people to row for him. But it ain't stopped there now. During all of this situation, the Prime Minister, according to a well-renowned criminal lawyer in the Federation, say the Prime Minister tried to contract him to burn up labor boards that they have to make up the election portfolios, you know. Listen to Chelsea for yourself.
When you encourage petty criminals, they turn into grand felons. Maybe that's why they're building a jail for them. Ladies and gentlemen, I said this man got a propensity for violence. In 2015, Timothy Harris, you hear what I said? Timothy Harris came to me. I'm not afraid to call name. He came to me and he says, Chesley, labor boards is at the industrial site. I want them bought up. Oh, hear me talk things. I tell them I got more secret than Victoria. I say I have more secrets than Victoria. So when I talk, listen. He came to me in an unmarked car driven by Dwight Ward up by Best Buy. And he says, labor boards are down there, you want them bought up. I said, boy, don't do this stupidness. Once you let that zombie there out of the battle, you let that genie there out of the battle, he can never go back in. Done with your stupidness. No wonder in 2015, all the burning and looting and arson that were going on is people from number 7 who were arrested, who they came to defend them. So I got more secrets than Victoria. Tell the man, done with his stupidness. Tell Timothy Harris, do not let me open my mouth. Done with his stupidness. Done with his stupidness in this country. You do not mix politics and violence. Once you let that zombie out of the battle, he's not going back in. It ain't going back in. So done with it. Stop encourage petty criminals to become grand felons. I have made a living in criminal law.
You see, DJ Morrishaw got no secrets, you know. DJ Morrishaw don't play with Victoria, you know. If anybody want to bring Victoria to me, it's fine. But them things that Victoria have, them secrets, she gonna keep them to herself, you know. I have my receipts. And I'm going to go across to Nevis, you know. I am going to go across to Nevis. Because during this period, we had the Deputy Premier of Nevis and one of our members in the federal cabinet who said he didn't have no concern for Nevis and the people of Nevis, you know. He will follow the Premier Baby Brantley to the gates of hell. He will support him. Whatever wrong he was doing, he didn't see the wrong. My partner Astra was there too, you know. And my boy Murray. All of them in the same boys club. So take a listen to this one.
If you find yourself close to the gates of hell, don't worry. Because I got people with me. And we're going to jump in first. And then we're going to tell you if it's safe to come. You understand?
I told my leader, the Honorable Mark Brantley, I will support him everywhere he goes. He is my leader. I'll follow you wherever you go. Let me tell you something. I told Mark Brantley I'll follow you everywhere. If you go to the gates of hell, I might kick you in because I'm not going with you. I might kick you in because I'm not going with you. But however you want to take it how you want tonight.
That's the real jackass there. That's the real jackass. Because guess what? If you think that one was good, this one is even better.
Once he becomes the premier, then Alexis Jeffers will be your deputy premier. And you know, look here, every time Mark Brantley goes out of Nevis, who's going to be the premier? I'm going to be the premier.
That's why now he's advisor. Because the people of Nevis took care of that and replaced him with the Honorable Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge. You understand? We drop short in Nevis, you know. We got some ways to go. But the people of Nevis, you have to stand up and do the things then for yourself. Don't expect everything to be done for you. Stand up. I want to say good evening to my boys there. The man, Carbo. Is Carbo online? Carbo, I ain't see you put in nothing for Carbo's place there yet, you know. I want the people to meet me over in Fountain. In the next week or two, I'll be giving the date when I'll be up by Carbo. It's going to be a Saturday afternoon, and I want you guys to join me at Carbo. Let's have a drink. Let's have some goat water. Let's have some fish and fungi and some green banana in the not too distant future. Within the next week or two, I'll give you the definite date when DJ Morrishaw will be hanging out with Carbo, okay? But if you think that was bad enough, we're still blasting from the past. We're still blasting from the past. You all remember, back in the days when they had their back and forth campaign thing, there was a lawyer gentleman, they say he represented some Haitians that both capsized in the Federation, and he's saying they have a right to stay in the Federation. Well, I wonder if he realized that during this period of the campaign we're talking about, Haitians was coming in and out of St. Kitts, getting passport and voting. That's what the people were saying, you know, 71 Haitian came in today with passport in their hand. Nobody remember those days. And then, when I was trying to update the people about the wrongs that was taking place in the Federation with this quarantine business and this COVID business when they was misleading people, here comes Abdiel Samuels telling the people, don't listen to DJ Morrishaw. Fake news. Listen to us, the real news. We are volunteering. We are not being paid any extra. We are volunteering, and the task force do not listen to those fake news. But guess what? When they bust up a few months ago, in 2022, when they bust up, we find out that all of them, Baby Brantley and his team in CCM, Sean Richards and his gang in the PAM, the People's Action Movement, and the former prime minister with the PLP, all of them sit down in cabinet and decide to rob the people of the federation over $300,000 to split up amongst themselves. And you know why I call it rob? I call it rob because according to Wendy Phipps, it was done in secrecy. And the public was not supposed to know that they split up over $300,000 amongst themselves. If they didn't wake up, we would have never known about it. Now take a listen for yourself.
On the 10th of January, every single cabinet member, save for the Honorable Attorney General, was present at cabinet. When that agenda item came up for that meeting, and I recognized that it was going to be the next item for discussion, I recused myself from the cabinet meeting because I knew that in addition to the persons who were being proposed for an honorarium, the names of Vincent Byron and Wendy Phipps were on that list. And it was the appropriate thing to have done to exit the room so that I do not influence a discussion in which the outcome would more than likely see me being a beneficiary for an honorarium. After the matter had been discussed for about 15 minutes, I was called back to the cabinet room and we joined the meeting. And at that point, I would have been informed of the cabinet's decision. By the 21st of January, acting on the instruction of the cabinet secretary, who would, according to her practice, send the cabinet decision of that nature to the office of the financial secretary, the payments were made to the members of the task force. The payments were done rather discreetly, right in this very building, on Friday, the 21st of January, with a senior official from the Ministry of Finance being present to present and to have signed for them the same beneficiaries who were asked to walk with an ID. Now, as I said, that was January 21st. February 21st came, no leaking of anything. March 21st came, no leaking of anything. April 21st came, no leaking of anything. And now we are down to the 31st of May. And yesterday that happened. I do not want to surmise or to second guess or to try to figure out who did what and why. But what I do know is that cabinet documents are privileged documents. People who sit in a cabinet have to take an oath of office before you can assume any type of role in the cabinet. What was done yesterday, and to a certain extent I can only say that it was done in retaliation for my statements last Friday, because the graphic that I saw only had one person's picture on it, and it was mine. But my position is that if you want to take issue with a minister of government over a payment that that minister of government receives, you have no business whatsoever compromising senior civil servants in that process. What I saw yesterday had all of the names of all of the beneficiaries, plain as day, and I do not know what was the aim of all of that. Nobody on the task force stole any money. Nobody on the task force begged to have an honorarium, but they were duly presented with an honorarium. This type of information being circulated on social media doesn't help anybody. And what it does is engender further distrust in terms of your access to government, especially when matters have to come before the cabinet. So the average person might be out there wondering right now, what happens to me if, for example, like the example I gave you earlier, of 44 businesses applying to the Ministry of Trade for relief, for fiscal relief, to get their businesses up and running or to relieve some of their operational costs. What is to happen to those who are still in the process of sending in their applications? Are they supposed to now feel threatened or afraid at being exposed even to their competitors, for example, which is serious, that something as simple and which is their entitlement to access as an application for fiscal incentives in the past might very well find itself on social media. So I think sometimes when we do these things, the person or persons who are responsible, we need to take time and think about the implications for everybody. And I will end on that note, and I will pray that as we move forward, we would recognize that social media serves a good, but it also has its bad sides. But let us continue to try to use it for the good that we can get out of it. We are a people who have come very far, and for what I have just explained, it really sinks to a new low, and we need to do better as a country. I thank you.
And you, Wendy, need to do better as a human being. I have had the highest respect for you. I understand with all the bad that the farmer had did to the country, with all the bad that was done, you are telling me that you, a lovely lady like you, going to get caught up yourself with Timothy Harris still, going to be secretary for PLP. Man, get rid of Tim from that party, and then you all might stand a chance. Having Timothy Harris as your leader of that party, you don't stand a chance. Because as long as I have health and strength, I'm going to keep the people informed. I'm going to bring back this information and let them know, board of a feather flock together. Because look at the deputy chairman. He once said that the most corrupt politician in the region or in the history of politics is Timothy Harris, but he's now Timothy Deputy in PLP. How can we take you all serious? How can we take you all serious to run the state of affairs of the people of St. Kitts Nevis when you all are so corrupt and lack of integrity? Well, guess what? In other news, because I'm heading towards the 7 o'clock hour, like I said, 7 o'clock I'm out of here. I am just reflecting and bringing back to the people what we had to deal with the previous administration. So our good Prime Minister, Dr. Terence Jew, he made a second appearance last week on Freedom FM, and he brought some numbers to us. So let's hear from the Honorable Dr. Terence Jew about the updated numbers. Because instead of the jackass from number 7, sit quiet and be happy he's not in the pen. Because remember, Dougie said he should be penned, you know. Dougie said the hag should be penned. But instead of him sit down in his backside and enjoy whatever little he got left, he come out with big press conference. Yeah, man. Went over to the Marriott, talking things. Well, PM just said, I'm not going to have that, you know. I'm not going to have them fake news spreading all over the place, you know. Let's talk the numbers, them. So Dr. Joe hit, Prime Minister Joe hit freedom with the man he came. And hear what Dr. Joe had to say.
2 weeks back to back, you're onto something, PM.
Yes, thank you very much, Ike. I want to thank the listeners who are joining us this afternoon. I think that it's important that the people now become aware of more information. I think that having a transparent government, a government that is built on the principle of good governance, should be really in a position to deliver the information to the people. But as I said before to our citizens, that I was not on a witch hunt and that I would have allowed the processes to take place to gather the information in such a way so that when it is presented, it is factual, and not only that, but it does not have any inkling of malice or targeting, but really laying the facts out and allowing the facts to fall where they may. And so, Ike, that has been the objective. I know I've been criticized for not laying out a lot more information earlier. And I would say to people that I am mindful that I was also being responsible to make sure that the information would be information that is reliable and information that would have been properly researched. So I think taking that approach, at least people would reach the point to say that this was done prudently. I am also here more frequently because your airways is the airways that we used frequently, and I think you have the listenership and the followership as well, and I also use the national radio and the national station and other media to get the message out. So last week I started in earnest talking about the development bank and social security. I would just say to people, if you live in a glass house, don't throw stones. If you live in a glass house, don't throw stones. And I will delve deeper into the development bank so people can understand the state of the bank. And that is why we had to do a forensic analysis of the bank. The bank was mismanaged. The bank was run like a bar shop by the former CEO, who is the brother of the former prime minister. We know that no audit took place in the bank in 2018. If you are running a prudent financial institution, you must do audit. So even that alone tells you that if one has an institution and that institution is supposedly run well, one of the most important requirements is that an audit is done. And the bank had not been audited. Of course, that put the bank in a bad light to the point where the CDB and other financial institutions refuse or stop doing business with the bank because of how it was being managed. No audit in 2018. When people don't do audit, it is grossly irresponsible. It gives the opportunity for corruption. It is a way to hide corruption and bad dealings in financial institutions by refusing to do audits. We sought, since the government changed, to do business with other institutions, and the first thing that those institutions are asking for is the audit. So on the basis of no audit tells you that that institution was grossly mismanaged. Again, I would say that for the 7 years that the unity was in, they had promised in 2015, and I'll take people back to their manifesto of 2015. A big part of it was premised on integrity in public life. 7 years, EK, and nothing done. Remember, the first chairperson for the commission had to resign, and he said he was not given the money to open the office and to run the office, and so he had to resign. For those 7 years, no documents that we know of were delivered as part of the declaration of members of parliament, government, or those who are asked to do so under the relevant legislation. Nothing in 7 years. The people were fooled and hoodwinked. And the reason why this was done is so that you wouldn't have good governance in place. And if there's no good governance in place, you can really create a climate of corruption, which actually took place under the previous administration. Ike, let me delve into the numbers of the development bank so people can get a fairly good idea of what happened. The bank owes $334 million, $833,769.34. More than $250 million. That's what the bank owes presently. Where what it owes is greater than the assets. So the bank was left in serious trouble. I'll call that number again. $334 million. More than $250 million in debt. Social Security is owed $120 million roughly. $120 million roughly. And the bank refused to pay back Social Security from January 2022. So up when we took office, it had been well over 6 months that the bank, that Social Security had not received 1 cent from the bank to service its $120 million loan. So what is Social Security supposed to do? That is a significant amount of money. The decision that we have made is that the bank must pay back Social Security. We can't afford for Social Security to lose $120 million. What money will you have to pay people when they retire? You're putting people's retirement plan in jeopardy. People's benefits are in jeopardy if you have $120 million out and not servicing that loan. Again, the loan is supposed to be serviced at $647,000 per month. They were paying up to January 2022 haphazardly $200,000 a month, and from that time until when we took office, nothing at all being paid. Thus far, we started back with 200,000, then quickly went to 250,000. We're now moving on to 300,000, and we'll move up to 400,000. And as the bank recovers, because of our stabilization efforts, we will make sure that the bank pay back Social Security. We cannot allow the bank to fail. We cannot allow the bank not to pay back Social Security. That is too much money. $120 million. When people retire, people are expecting their benefits. They work hard. They gave their contribution. EK, how can you run an institution such as a development bank being so irresponsible and grossly mismanaged to the point of collapse? We cannot allow the bank to collapse. We had to make financial decisions to divest or divert monies from one area to the development bank to make sure that the bank does not collapse. Because if the bank collapses here in St. Kitts and Nevis, we can imagine the consequences that it would have on the overall economy, which would take a while for us to recover. Added to that, Social Security would lose an immediate $120 million. So, EK, just to run the numbers, the bank owes $334 million, well over $250 million under the last administration. The government is also owed by the bank. The bank owes the government $89,500,000, 90-something% from the previous administration. National Bank, $25 million, total from the last administration. We have not gone to the National Bank for any money. The SIDF is owed $57 million, and Petrocarib, $11 million. So they were taking money from a lot of other places because they could not go to international or regional institutions to borrow because of bad practice and lack of transparency and the fact that they refused to do an audit. So the development bank, EK, was in serious trouble. But as I said, I did not speak because I did not want total confidence to be lost, and so we have stabilized it. And as a result of that, you can see where the bank was grossly mismanaged. I've also spoken about the fact that they used to send a particular person to the National Bank for cash in a bag every Friday to the tune of $500,000 to $700,000 and have that raw cash on the table in Development Bank to be split up. EK, that is what took place with respect to the Development Bank. And we are saying that this is a very serious and critical matter. EK, let me move on quickly to the matter with NHC. Because something happened there at NHC. NHC had also borrowed money from Social Security to the tune, I think, of about $50 million. Social Security had become their slush fund. $50 million NHC had borrowed. And they advertised some big housing program, but that is where the money came from, $50 million. We can remember clearly, there was a Miss Bory who was on the board of Social Security. One of the things that was being put forward is that you just can't take all of the money from Social Security. Just like a bank, when you go for a mortgage or loan to build a home, you have to take it in stages. They wanted too much of the money at the same time, which was against what you consider to be normal, transparent, good practice. And as an account, as referred, that may have been one of the reasons. But we know for sure that that was practiced in terms of how you get the money from Social Security. So Social Security had become the slush fund, and they misused and abused the fund by refusing to repay the money to the fund. We have now stopped all of that because at the end of the day, you cannot put Social Security in trouble. The other thing that was happening is that in order to keep up with any other corrupt programs or programs that were not properly funded or could not be funded sustainably, they were diverting money to other places, and people had the impression that the government had all this money. But see who was suffering? Social Security was suffering. Development Bank was suffering. Other banks were suffering. And as a result of that, the very foundation of our system was also suffering, to the point where we ran a deficit in 2021, 2022. Fair enough. The issue that I had is that they were claiming that there was surplus after surplus after surplus, only to find that there was a deficit. So we had to plug that leak as well. The other matter with the economy, after lying to the people and saying surplus after surplus, and what we met were deficits, that is another egregious type of act that they committed against the people, misinforming the people. We also find the IMF report of 2018. And the reason why they had hid the IMF report of 2018 is that the country was in a recession. And because he was out there saying surplus after surplus, and the actual data was showing that we were in a recession, he hid and did not allow, or did not give permission to the IMF to release the report. Of course, since then, we have asked the IMF to release the report. So the report now is public. Again, misleading the public on the state of the economy that they left in place. When it came to the PAP, the Poverty Alleviation Program, it was used as an election gimmick where they went around and basically just distributed it, understanding clearly that there was no money for it. So it's almost like they were running a Ponzi scheme. You don't have the money, you pay up front, but when you go and you look back, who is suffering? Social Security is suffering. Development Bank is suffering. And the government, the central government, is suffering because the central government then had to lend a lot of money that were not being properly serviced. And so the foundation of the economy was actually being affected just because of an election weaponization of cash transfer, which they call the PAP. So they left these institutions in a state of deterioration, understanding that they did not leave a sustainable way to continue any of these programs. EK. And that is the matter that occurred with the PAP, for example. But we have decided that we cannot end the PAP. Even though I was being asked to streamline the PAP and cut it more, I said no. This is post-COVID, and I will keep as many persons. We had decided we will keep as many persons as we could keep, even if we think that we might run into any sort of deficit. We have to get it properly organized, but it needs more time. That is because they set up a system that was totally unsustainable, and they were robbing Peter to pay Paul. And the institution that suffered significantly in this big Ponzi scheme was Social Security. We could not stay there and watch Social Security continued to have $120 million out there and no servicing of the loan. That would be a serious detriment to the fabric, the economic fabric of this country, that would have such repercussions that there will not even be $1 to pay the people on the PAP. And we had to stop the bleeding. So the question to ask, where is the audit of the Development Bank? Why did you stop auditing in 2018? Where is the IMF report of 2018? Why is it financial institutions were refusing to do business with the Development Bank? Where is the at least $120 million from the Social Security? Where has that gone? Why is the Development Bank in such serious trouble of a debt of more than $250 million? So, Ike, the people understand that. The other matter that I wanted to touch on was the land matter, because this too was a serious corrupt practice. What they did is that they went around and they asked people, what do they want? So they created these land letters and just dished them out. By the time we got into government and we look, there were hundreds of pieces of lands with more than one name on them, and people have official government letters. That is why today, persons who received the land after 2020, especially during 2022, late 2021 to 2022, those lands are a serious legal nightmare as we speak, because persons have official documents for the land, and more than one person's name is on these lands. And who do you give the land to when everybody has a reasonable expectation? So everything was corrupted. That is why they never wanted to put into effect the integrity in public life, because something like this would have never happened. People would have had to answer questions, and the information would have been made available to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. So, Ike, that is where the land matter is corrupted. They have not addressed that.
Thank you, Honorable Dr. Terence Joe, Prime Minister, for that update. Now, after listening to Dr. Joe with that update, some things became clear to me, but I will leave that for next week because we are almost out of time. CPL starts at 7. But I must put in this clip because I want to clear up some things for my brother there, Brother Carlisle Powell, over there in the Nevis area. So take a listen to Brother Carlisle concerns.
Gentlemen, we are going to have to look at the first year of the Jews administration in office. We haven't touched that yet. There are a couple of issues that I want to look at, and there was one which jumped out and which I had lined up for tonight, but is a little bit late, because I heard Drew talking about the development bank, and I have an issue with Dr. Drew and the development bank, because when he came in, I think he said that there was a gap of 25 million.
20 million.
20 million. Well, Dr. Drew, you've been in office for a whole year. We hear nothing else about the 20 million.
He said the forensic has been done.
So what the hell are you waiting for?
He said the forensic has been done and they're waiting for further investigation. But to me, if a forensic is done, you're done. Maybe I'm missing the point, but if a forensic is done, you are done. That is the ultimate evidence that something untoward happened. So I don't know what other information that he's seeking. Maybe, I don't know. I can't even speculate on that.
And I heard him saying something there today which needs some explanation, because let me find it before I go and talk, and I know what I am talking about, because what he said didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but I'm going to find it so that I can comment on it properly. He said that there were some loans where people had overdraft in the millions. How do you get an overdraft on a loan?
Now, this is where I know that Brother Carlisle Powell and Kelvin Daly, they are scholars, and they knows what the Prime Minister was saying. But for whatever reason, they has a right as a pundit to try and spin, twist, get whatever they want to get out of it. But I will say to you, Brother Powell, without even checking with Dr. Joe, I don't think Dr. Joe meant that there was an overdraft and a loan. I think he started out by explaining the process in which people got money out of the development bank. There was not the mainstream process. There was no checks and balances. People that already have loans and owes money can still go and get money on top of what they got already. That is what he was speaking about. This is not an overdraft like in a regular checking account where you're going to overdraft and your checking account. These are people that got loans that was not paying back their loans and continue receiving because they was not following the process by the Carlisle. So I'm going to let your clips finish, but stuff like this, we don't need to bust our brains so much on these things. What you guys in Nevis, Carlisle, Tulu, Kelvin Daly, you all have enough issues on Nevis, enough problem in Nevis with Baby Brantley and the corruptions within the NIA and the CCM to focus on. Let the process take its course as a development bank in Nevis. Let the federal government deal with what's taking place in Nevis. I appreciate you guys being a broad-based platform, and you have the right to delve into the 1 year, whatever with Dr. Joe and his team. You have that right. I don't have a problem with you doing what you're doing. But let's be realistic. We know that there is not an overdraft. We know what the Prime Minister is trying to explain. So let's stay focused. Let's focus on Baby Brantley, if we may.
You can't.
Wait, that's what he said. There were some loans which had...
Who said that?
Dr. Joe?
No, he misspoke.
Okay. Let me not save this till next week. Let me play it for you right now, because I don't want people to think that I am misquoting the good Prime Minister. Because when I heard it, I said this don't make no sense.
Things we have done is that we realized there was abuse of loans. In the development bank, the people who were selected did not have to go through certain processes. They just give the money, just gave out the money for whatever purposes. And when I'm talking tens of millions of dollars. People there have overdraft of $18 to $25 million. Overdraft.
How the hell you have a...
But Powell, they were just taking the money, it's their slush funds. They don't have to pay it back, they just take it. That is the hell that was taking place.
Loan facility, and you have an overdraft on a loan facility.
You wasn't paying on the loan, interest is accruing.
No, that's interest accruing, that's not overdraft.
No,
An overdraft facility is something that you negotiate with your banker.
Yeah, wrong terminology.
You know. Well, no, but he was on radio. That's from Freedom FM. So he's going to have to explain that, but next week we can pick up that, because there are a couple of other issues where he spoke, and I don't think that he's making a whole lot of sense. But I need time to consult with my accountant.
But before we...
So, folks, that was the final clip for this evening. I'm going to jump straight into my closing song, the unofficial anthem of St. Kitts Nevis. This one is called Arise by the man, the late, great, the King Arrow. The game has started. The game between the Trinbago, Tikea, and it seems like is the Tikea and the Royals, the Barbados Royals, and so far it's 2-0, and they started the first over. So let me just drop my track. Good evening, brother Eustace Hendrickson. Hope all is well with today in the Houston area. The man Iowa Henry and crew. Sorry I cannot hail up everybody this evening, but cricket is on. So the unofficial anthem, and I'm out of here. The late great King Arrow is going to take us out, and I look forward to seeing you same place, same time next Wednesday. Cabo, remember to put your place, the address for Fountain.
Your country dying and never lend a helping hand. Would you see your children's future dwindling, creating much disillusion? Or would we watch on idly, disregarding our self-sufficiency? Maladministration. unification, building a brand new nation. We move on together hand in hand. Rise, citizens, arise. The country is yours, all yours, still yours. Can your conscience be clear? Indulging corruption or misusing public office, being accused of unemployment and crimes, or disrupting a citizen's peace. Oh, my country in disharmony, separated politically. Hatred for a brother, cannot love each other. No, I say no, potato. Citizens, let's unite and stand up for rights, all our lives and our lives. Let us reintegrate and correct our mistakes. Reunification, building a brand new nation. We move on together hand in hand. So rise, citizens, arise. The country is yours, all yours, still yours. Oh, yeah.
Yes, the sound of the late great King Arrow. Serious track, serious song. All citizens need to take the time out and listen to the lyrics. I know the music sweet, but just listen to the lyrics. Yeah, this time it's 13 for 0 of 2.4 overs. The Barbados Royals, the Knight Riders is on the field. They are fielding, and the TKR Knight Riders, the Trinbago team is batting. So we're going to have a very lovely game this evening. Just want to say to you folks that was online, thanks for your continued support. Thanks for your continued viewing. I look forward to seeing you guys next week, same time, 5 p.m. as we continue the conversation. I want to say good night to my brother there, Brother Austin Williams. We're going to watch some cricket now and have a cold one. I want to say good evening to my baby girl there. Also, Sister Gwyneth Morrishaw, Beverly Morrishaw, Sister Ann Farrell Smith, hope all is well with you and the family and the home front. Sister Cora Bennett, thanks for your usual support. My engineer, Brother Ike, thanks for your usual support and technical services. The man, Alvin Ellie, thank you as well for your continued support. Brother Kent and Sister Debbie, have a great evening. As we take the time out, I would like to say to the folks that next Monday, the 4th of September, Brother Rudy Morton will be laid to rest. There will be a viewing at the Warner Park Stadium and St. Kitts from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., followed by the service at Warner Park. Woody Morton will be laid to rest at the Springfield Cemetery. That's next Monday, 4th September. Please go out and support Sister Jasmine Morton and the family and the people of St. Kitts Nevis. May Brother Morton's soul rest in eternal peace. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the line.